this heaven?
No. It's Iowa.
Eric Lee is a particle physicist, a neurosurgeon, a rock star.
An astronaut.
And an astronaut. It just wasn't enough for him.
And a crime fighter.
He had to podcast about movies. Join him and his sidekick, Goofy Ben, as they talk the adventures of Buckaroo Banzai across the 8th dimension on the Pod of Dreams.
He's a rocker. Doctor.
Don't tug on that. You never know what it might be attached to.
Inventor.
Activate oscillator.
He's broken the sound barrier. Philosopher.
No matter where you go, there you are.
And the only hero.
Buckaroo.
Buckaroo.
Buckaroo. Curse you, Banzai!
Who can save us all.
Evil! You're inseparable from the 8th dimension! Venom!
Launch thermopod.
Buckaroo Banzai is pure nutty fun.
Buckaroo, you forgot your thruster.
What are you all onto for what?
The cult sci-fi classic.
Run!
In a dimension all its own.
Real-life Martians landing in New Jersey.
Holy Toledo! We will fire a portable beam weapon! Vaporize the whole damn planet?
If we blow this today,
Get him up.
there ain't no tomorrow.
Left! I said left! This is left! I mean my left! Your left! Go your right!
Buckaroo, the president's calling about is everything okay with the alien spacecraft from Planet 10, or should we just go ahead and destroy Russia?
Tell him yes on one and no on two.
The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai.
Which was yes, destroy Russia or number 2?
Hello! Welcome to the Pod of Dreams. If you listen, we will pod. Eric, you had never heard of the Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai across the 8th dimension. Is that correct?
I had not.
Those words were the first time you'd ever heard that assemblage of words in your entire life.
Never.
Okay.
Until you told me to watch this movie, it was a mere mystery to me. It didn't exist in the universe, or even in the 7th, the 6th, the 5th, any of these dimensions. It was not a real thing to me until you asked me to watch it.
And we talked about the cast very briefly, and I also got to see your reaction before we started recording. I think you probably... What were your expectations going into this movie? Were they at least moderate?
You know, I expected just kind of like just an 80s sci-fi kind of like, I guess Masters of the Universe was kind of my...
Oh, interesting.
I thought it was going to be more of like a family movie.
Oh, okay.
For whatever reason, I don't know. It had that like 80s family sci-fi vibes to it, which I guess it kind of is.
Yeah, I don't know that it's not family friendly. I think it is.
It has a stupid name, was my only expectation, and then RoboCop's on the cover. Like, okay. Other than that, no. We talked briefly about the cast. The cast of this movie is insane. Oh, let me just get this out here. This is, without question, one of the worst motion pictures ever created. When you consider the amount of effort put into it. The cast that was assembled for this movie, it is a failure on all fronts. Like I'm convinced this movie was written by a 12-year-old on cocaine. Otherwise, there's no other explanation. The bit we did to open this was Buckaroo Banzai is a surgeon who's also a neurosurgeon.
Yep.
He's also a physicist or astronaut, whatever. It doesn't
Particle physicist. It doesn't matter.
Crime fighter. And he's also in a rock band. He's a rock star. Those are like his occupations in this movie that we learned 10 minutes into it. This is insane. Who would ever think of that and call it a serious story? And whatever John Lithgow is doing in this movie.
Well, it's not a serious story. So
no idea.
The tone is all over the place, but we'll get there. So,
you don't think this is one of the worst movies ever made? Like, if this has to be on the list of worst all-time movies.
No, I don't think it's one of the worst movies ever made.
Wow.
It's got two and a half problems, and the two problems are really big problems. The half problem is one I kind of oscillate. I don't know that I mind it. It's probably something that doesn't bother. I kind of like it, sometimes I don't like. But there are two big problems. The fact that the plot is convoluted and weird doesn't bother me. I like that it's zany and goofy and insane. That's not a problem to me. That we got this plot. I mean, you're right that it's very adolescent, like in terms of the narrative. It's silly to me. Sometimes they steer into the silliness and they embrace it, and it's like almost satirical.
But Christopher Lloyd isn't being silly. John Lithgow's not.
That's the half problem. So different
Peter
people.
Weller thinks he's in a real movie.
Correct. People are acting in totally different movies. That's the half problem. Like John Lithgow is full on comic insane. He's doing this bizarre Italian.
Explain it to me. I saw in the credits he had a dialect coach. I'm like, for what?
He's
just
speaking
blurt
Italian.
out nonsense?
He's speaking. Yes, it's an Italian accent. You can find it not convincing. I don't care. But he's going for Italian at any rate.
Why?
Because he's playing a character who's Italian, and that was what the script.
But he didn't
for.
talk like that until his head went into the wall thing, and then he comes out talking all weird.
Because he gets possessed by an alien.
Who's Italian?
I guess. Yeah.
This is not a serious movie, dude.
It isn't a serious movie. It isn't a serious movie.
But it was a serious effort. They tried to make an actual movie, and it's the worst effort I've ever seen. Like Room, like that guy thought he was making The Godfather, and it's not. It's trash. Okay. That's what I think about this movie. Is they tried to make a movie.
What kind of movie do you think they thought they were making? What did you think they were going for?
Star Wars.
No, I disagree.
I think they thought they were making Star Wars.
I don't think they thought that for even a second that they were making Star Wars. I see. That's where maybe I disagree. So there's times where they just like
they were making Spaceballs. This wasn't like a parody of a sci-fi movie.
There's times where it steers hard into parody, I think, and this is the half problem where it's like tonally it's all over the place. The actors are all in different movies. Peter Weir is taking it very seriously. Almost all the good guys are taking it pretty seriously. The bad guys are not taking it seriously. Oh, Peter Weller. The good guys aren't taking it serious, or are taking it serious. The bad guys aren't.
Jeff Goldblum is. I'm a cowboy and a surgeon. Like that makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah, he plays it straight, right? And it's
total makes sense. Even though it's a ludicrous, ridiculous premise, and he joins like a posse where he slings a gun and fights aliens. Like that's what happens in this movie for Jeff Goldblum, and he's like, okay, I'll do that. Because, Jeff Goldblum was probably high on cocaine that this 12-year-old that wrote the movie supplied while they made it.
I don't think they take it seriously. I don't think they're looking at this like we're making Star Wars. I don't think it's serious. And we'll get to... all right, I'm going to start with my biggest problem. Well, there's two.
Pauline Kael loved this movie. She said it was pure nutty fun.
Because I think they know they were making a ludicrous, silly movie. But we'll get to that. Two problems. One, the good guys are super boring. They're all very, very, very boring. Like they have weird costumes. They're doing weird stuff, but they're boring. They don't have chemistry. You're right. It's almost like the Little Rascals. Somebody like wrote the Little Rascals, made them all adults, but zapped all their personality. They aren't funny or entertaining. They don't have a good back and forth. Buckaroo Banzai is the main character, and he's supposed to be this awesome guy, but he doesn't do anything awesome, really. What does he do that's so crazy? We see him he's doing a neurosurgery when we first meet at the beginning of the movie. Then he's testing this experimental engine or whatever to go to a different dimension. But he doesn't seem super smart. He doesn't seem super strong. He doesn't do anything that's interesting. He's just boring. He's not fun to be around.
He uncovers the plot of these aliens, I guess.
Sure, but anybody, but there's nothing special about his character. He just happens to be driving the car, and we don't see him do anything badass or super smart.
Who really is he? Who is Buckaroo Banzai?
He's a made-up guy that probably somebody else
was this wrote. A totally original idea, this movie?
Yeah, so the guy that directed this movie worked with the guy that wrote the script, and this guy apparently did, and this will tell you where part of the problem is. So he created this concept of Buckaroo Banzai, and it was kind of this silly notion. He'd have an idea, and he'd write like 30 pages of the script and get bored, and then start a new script with the same character.
Off. Yeah, he would just.
But he wouldn't want to finish. He'd get bored and sick of the narrative and be like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm going to start a new one. And then he'd just have all these like half-finished scripts, and so they spliced them all together to make this movie that this guy wrote. This guy. So the director co-wrote Big Trouble in Little China, right? Which is a movie that has action in it and is also sort of satirical and comedic at times, and it balances, and it's a way better movie. I'm not like
it's in the same sort of zaniness though, like where it could go off the rails. It's just I think the steady hand behind the camera on that movie with Carpenter is but that movie's close. That movie's close to being ridiculous. That movie is what Pauline Kael described this movie as. It's like pure nutty fun. That's what that movie is. This is not pure nutty fun. This is just lunacy.
Well, you're right. The direction is the biggest. Well, that's one of the two problems. I mean, the good guys are boring. They're not fun to watch. They're not fun to hang out. I don't want to be part of their club. It doesn't seem fun. They have all these people who are like, had this cult of personality around Buckaroo Banzai. He has all these other like scientists who join him. Jeff Goldblum was stoked to get to join the band. And then
why do they have a rock band? Like what? Explain that to me.
Cocaine, there's nothing to explain. It's not logical. It's just silly. It's silly. I think they know that it's silly. The whole thing is supposed to be silly.
But see, at least in Big Trouble, it's like, oh, he's a truck driver. All right, this is a guy he knows. Now he's mixed in with this big gang war. He doesn't know what's going on. None of it makes sense to him. Okay, that's fine. These guys all seem like that made perfect sense to them. Why wouldn't they be in a rock band? Sure, why wouldn't they have guns?
They play it straight.
Gunfight? Why wouldn't the lady try to kill herself at the concert?
Did that look like a serious scene to you when she's trying to blow her head off while she's singing, and then she gets bumped, and then the gun shoots up, and they think she's trying to kill Buckaroo Banzai, so they're all pulling their guns out? That seems serious to you?
I don't know what to think about that.
See, I don't think it. Well,
is that a bit? That's a bit?
That was a bit. There's times where it's clearly a bit. There's clearly where they're going for parody and absurdity. We'll get there. I will get there. I mean, they're for the most part, I was kind of bored. It was like I was waiting for a firecracker of craziness to go off, and it never did. I'll give you an example. Like, the aliens come and they take the thing, the circuitry, whatever. Who cares? I don't care. There's a thing the aliens want to fly their spaceship, whatever. So Buckaroo Banzai, this awesome guy who's such a cool dude,
the overthruster.
Yeah, he's such an awesome guy. He takes a Harley Davidson bike, and I think we're gonna get a cool action chase scene where he's weaving around on his Harley Davidson, and it's gonna be exciting. He's doing some MacGyver shit where he's gonna do something crazy with his science brain to stop them. Instead, he comes out. He does. He looks around. Yeah, he's like, where are they? Where'd he go? He does a circle and drives off. I'm like, wow, that is such a bummer.
I lost him.
And then he shows up later on the bike. He doesn't win any fights, as far as I can tell. They have these really boring, just like handguns. They don't even have like lasers.
They're
they don't
cap
have
guns. It's like basically cap guns.
Sure. And they don't have that. There's nothing like he could design a cool gun. Be like, I want to be in the club so I can have one of these. No, they're just regular old 6-shooters or whatever the fuck they are.
But why are they crime fighters? Why do they all have guns?
That's part of the premise. If you can't accept the premise, you can't accept the premise. There's
nothing tethered to reality in this movie.
It's not supposed to be tethered to reality. It's pure nonsensical silliness. I don't think it's supposed to be tethered to reality. I don't like, if that's the problem, that I think that's more on you. Because I don't think for a second it's like,
name another movie like this where it's so unrealistic. None of it makes any sense.
Star Wars: A New Hope.
Well, no, they act like normal people if you accept the premise that they're in space.
Airplane.
Airplane is a comedy.
Well, but this is the thing. There's huge comedic elements in sections where it's, to me, pure satire. Those are the sections I like the best. Name
one, like the band, like where they're in the band. Is that a satire?
No, I think when she's trying to kill herself and then she gets bumped and then the bullet goes up. That bit of it is, but they're supposed to just be cool when they're. By the way, rate his shredding. What did you think of his shredding?
We finally got some shredding.
What did you think of it?
It was okay. I couldn't wrap my head around.
C+. Okay.
I couldn't wrap my head around. No, if you got some guitar shredding, it's worth a half star. But
here's where the movie almost won me over completely, and then it lost me again. So, Buckaroo Banzai calls the President of the United States, and the President of the United States is in some crazy contraction.
His back is out. Yeah.
And it's insane and makes no sense. And he's sitting there describing the plot. Basically he's describing the plot to the president, who's just looking on with like the Joint Chief of Staff or whoever the fuck he is, some cabinet member, and it's insane nonsense. And later on, like, a general's talking about how he's barely holding his fudge, and they're bickering, and it doesn't look at all like the White House. It doesn't look like the Oval Office. It looks like just an office building.
Well, like the one guy's name, Doc Brown, his name is John DeBooty or whatever.
Big
and he
Booty.
Calling, Big Booty.
He keeps correcting Big Booty.
Yeah.
And that's clearly a joke. All of the aliens are named. There's a bunch of aliens, and they all have the first name John. That's not a serious. They're not like, this is a really seriously intellectually compelling idea. They're like, wouldn't it be funny if all the aliens were named John? and we'll never explain it.
But that's what this movie is. He snorts a lot. Oh, okay, all right. So, this is what are the aliens named? All right, we got. We'll just have them all be named John. They're all every one of them's John. John Butt Crack, John DeBooty. Like that's just their names.
John Smallberries was
John
one.
Smallberries. This is all their names. Just go. Just.
Right, but when they had those thoughts, do you think they thought this is really artistic and relevant, or do you think this sounds funny? I'm not saying it is funny to you. Do you think they thought it was funny? Messed up on coke.
I don't think funny was what they were going for. I think he thought it was cool. I think he thought it was cool. Like,
I think they're going for funny. But anyway, like he's explaining the plot that this general's talking about is not older fudge in a place that's clearly nothing like the White House, and they're debating whether to go to war, and it doesn't make any sense. And I just started cackling because it's so insane. And it it wasn't like a gut laughing, but it also wasn't just like a haha. It was like I just started to lose it because it was so insane. They eventually say he's going to go to war with Russia, and they give him a form, and it's like short order declaration of war. It's this like short form for declaring war.
Yeah,
it's
that
clearly
felt
a bit
more like a Strangelove kind of.
Yeah, that whole sequence is a bit. All the stuff with the president a bit. It doesn't even matter. It's just this insanity. Again, I think they're going for humor there. Later on.
Richter teamed with producer Neil Canton to pitch the script to MGM, the chief of MGM Studios, and then they took it to 20th Century Fox to make this movie. These are like major studio heads that they convinced to make this movie off of pitches with ideas in the script. Like, I cannot wrap my head around how a studio chief of MGM or 20th Century Fox were like, yeah, okay, green light it. So, Buckaroo Banzai? Sounds great. So hold on. So let me get this straight. They're gonna go through space, so they're like astronauts or whatever, time travelers, and then they're gonna be in a band, rock stars, and they're also gonna be surgeons. Oh, okay, makes sense. Just go make it. Here's $20 million. Like, how does that happen? How does anybody convince another person to make this movie? And then this is one of the craziest casts that we've done in this whole podcast history. Insane cast. Like, top to bottom, crazy. I just can't wrap my head around what kind of movie this is.
Well, that's part of it. It is difficult. It's all over the place. Again, everybody's in a different movie. So, like, I don't remember the actress's name, but she plays Penny Purdy. Again, not a serious name. That's not a serious name.
Ellen Barkin is her name.
There we go. She's in like a serious, depressed drama. She wants to kill herself. She's playing it straight. She thinks she's in like a serious romantic drama. All of the supporting cast on the good guy side, I mean, they're just all so boring. It was like, I felt like such a waste for like Jeff Goldblum.
The guy that wrote this movie also wrote New York, New York for Martin Scorsese.
Yeah. I give the writing way more credit in trying to go. I mean, to me, they didn't do nearly. It should be more clearly satirical. That's what the movie is. To me, this works as a spoof of sci-fi movies. And it just embraces the insanity and the silliness. Like when the rednecks find the UFO and they shoot it down with their shotgun. You thought that was serious? I
honestly, again, I don't know what to think about this movie.
I was like, they have a spaceship that can't withstand a shotgun blast? What?
I mean, the scene where Buckaroo Banzai gets in the spaceship and he's driving it, like the equipment makes no sense. Peter Weller clearly doesn't even know, like, what. Oh, okay. He picks this button up. He's like, oh, what's this do? It's like a can, and he's like, yeah, okay. Turn. Oh, now we're looking. Oh, shoot. Now shoot the thing. Turn right. No, you're right. And the other guy's spinning around, and he's it's like if you and I, Ben, were just like, let's grab some stuff in our room, and oh, that pencil. Yep, that's the blaster, and you're like, okay, shoot him with the blaster. Like.
He tells the guy to fly, and the guy's like, I'm actually a diplomat. I don't know how to fly. I mean, that's about the only thing Peter Weller does.
He figures out how to fly. The aliens are clearly just like snorkels that they put in their mouth. They're like, oh, now we can see the aliens.
See, I think that's a joke. I think that's a joke.
I don't think it's a joke. I think they're literally.
I don't think it's serious at all.
They couldn't think of a better way to do it.
No, I think it's that. And the aliens look bad. And I think that's part of it. They look so silly. Like anytime you saw the aliens in their insane costume, one of them was wearing like a techno garb. I don't know what you call it. It's just like a bright.
Christopher Lloyd was serious. He was the bad guy of this movie.
He was trying to be scary, right? He's like, I'm actually scary and threatening. He's trying to be threatening. John Lithgow is not threatening. The other time I lost it laughing was when John Lithgow was giving this like Hitler speech in this warehouse with all these aliens looking up, and he sounds absurd. It looks absurd. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. It's bizarre. And I was like, this is insane. This is ludicrous. This is one of the craziest satires I've ever seen. And then it goes back. But part of the problem, and this is the editing and the action sequences, those that they do have, are so bad. Because, one, they're I don't think they're choreographed well, but even more importantly, they're edited to shit. You can't tell what's going on. Like, it cuts, and it's incomprehensible. He's even said there wasn't enough coverage, so the editors couldn't, like, splice and connect the action, so you just couldn't understand what was happening a good chunk of the time. Like, I literally don't know who's where doing what, how did this person get here, what's happening. It just didn't make sense. I don't know, like the general itself was a big character. I mean, I don't know. If you think they were just going for a dead serious, straight sci-fi movie, then yes, they failed horribly. That itself would be entertaining to me because they failed in spectacular ways, but I don't think so. I think there's huge streaks of satire in here that really worked for me, that I really liked. They almost won me over, but then again, it just gets flat and boring. And like you think, okay, gonna have this stellar cast of all these awesome people doing all this crazy stuff, and the good guys don't hardly do anything. It's just boring. Every time there's action, it's boring, and there's not enough of it. And the most entertaining parts are usually just the craziness of the aliens. Like the redneck shooting down the spaceship, and the guy just kind of falls over and I guess dies from a concussion. Like an alien comes out of the top of a crashed spaceship and just like falls over.
Yeah, it's this big giant ball thing that just rolls out, and yeah. And then the guy that gets out is, if he's like Jamaican for some reason, but he's
all the good aliens are Jamaican for whatever reason. Again, just a crazy bit. Buckaroo Banzai, like it's just crazy. They have clubhouses, they have volunteers. One of them has a helicopter. Everybody thinks Buckaroo's awesome, and I don't get why they think he's awesome. I don't know what he does that's so great, but it is totally all over the place. And the action scenes are really tank it, and the good guys just are really, really dull. If you're going to have a guy who's going to be this like wizard, he should have crazy, super intellectual wizard solutions to the situations, and he just doesn't do anything. I don't even like, his plan was to be tortured, and then what didn't make sense. It's kind of incomprehensible.
In May 2016, Kevin Smith announced that he would be adapting the film for television. Amazon Studios indicated a deal was being negotiated. However, by November, Smith revealed that he would be walking away from the project. So we could have got a Kevin Smith version of Buckaroo Banzai.
I don't need more of this movie. I don't need more of it to exist.
Well, it ended with a cliffhanger, like Buckaroo Banzai will return for more adventures. Like, and they even had the title for the next movie. Yeah. Did they ever make it?
No, not at all. They weren't. They didn't intend to.
Because it's a huge bomb and barely made any money.
Well, well, for all kinds of reasons. Also, it's just like a brutal summer. They went against Temple of Doom. They went against Ghostbusters. I mean, '84. There was just lots of incredible summer movies that came out. So that they failed misery. But I guess the reason why I see why you think
opened
it's so
the
bad.
same weekend as Star Trek 3.
Yeah. Okay. Also with Christopher Lloyd.
And Indiana Jones and Ghostbusters. The same weekend, all of those movies were released.
Yeah, I mean, even if this were a much better movie than it is, it would have gotten clobbered.
How was Ghostbusters and Temple of Doom released on the same weekend?
They wouldn't do that anymore. They learned their lesson. Studios learned their lesson. Like, we're just not going to compete with Spielberg or whatever. But I guess the reason, the spot where you and I think there was just deliberate satire and parody at various chunks. Not enough of it, and they don't go hard enough on it for the most part. But I look at most of these decisions not like, these are serious decisions for a serious movie about a serious sci-fi situation. The whole plot is nonsensical, zanius. I mean, we're literally like, two alien factions are warring, and we accidentally let some out, and then one alien faction.
It's not the plot that gets me; it's the premise of any of this. Like,
well, yeah, if you can't accept the premise, you can't accept the premise. That doesn't matter.
I just don't know what kind of movie it is.
It doesn't know at times. That's part of the problem. That's like the half problem for me. Like, I kind of like how everybody's different, but it's also a really big problem because everybody thought they were making a different movie. It's almost like literally each actor just got to pick what kind of movie they want to do. Maybe they were.
I just don't know how you can sit down and explain this to somebody. Like, how I would love to hear Jeff Goldblum, like, hey, Jeff, walk me through Buckaroo Banzai. Like, what was your experience like? You read the script, that you auditioned, and what did you think when they told you who you were going to be playing? Like, I would love to hear his explanation on that.
God, what a waste of Goldblum. It just, like...
Did you know you were going to be a surgeon/cowboy?
I'd rather Goldblum was the lead. It would be a better movie if Jeff Goldblum were the lead. Actually, I think the movie would improve with some Goldblum energy. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure people have written about it before. I mean, it is fairly singular. I don't have too many movies like it. Yeah, Big Trouble in Little China is the closest I can get, but obviously John Carpenter is a billion times better director than this guy. So it's not even close. And this is this guy's first movie. He clearly just didn't know what he was doing in sections.
Here's a quote from Lithgow. I've tried to explain this storyline to people, and it takes about an hour. I mean, it's that complicated, but it's terrific. Every time I tell people about it, I get so excited. I end it by saying, Buckaroo Banzai, remember where you heard it first.
It is complicated. I don't know. One of the funniest parts is literally Buckaroo Banzai trying to explain the plot to the president. And it just sounds ludicrous while the president is in a contraption. So it doesn't make any sense. And a general's talking about being barely able to hold his fudge. And then somebody else tells him to get it together. It's insane. I wanted more crazy. So for a while I was like, I had to wait for this, but it's really unleashing the full satire craziness.
If it was like Caddyshack, but like a sci-fi movie, is that how I should have watched this?
There's no right way to watch this. You're not. The movie itself is confused about what it is. I think that's why. Even if it were better, it just wouldn't sit with people. I think if you take it seriously, it's a failure. But it doesn't work perfectly as a comedy. I don't know. I didn't know what to make of it either, because there's times where I'm like, okay, this guy's supposed to be the supreme badass, whatever. I'll watch him and he's a badass and everybody likes him. And I kept waiting for that to be justified with the action, and it didn't happen. I just think him turning around in that Harley Davidson, tough luck, lost him. Them's the breaks. I was like, this is the badass guy.
I love the part where the aliens jumped over the little bridge or the wall. Christopher Lloyd just goes like, ah! He sticks his arms out, and then he just jumps 40 feet in the air.
See, as you describe it, it makes me laugh. Yes, I remember that part.
The Christopher Lloyd. So what I was so confused by is there's certain points where you see him as Christopher Lloyd, and then they'll cut to and then they'll cut back to him, and then he looks like an alien, and then they'll cut back, and then now he's Christopher Lloyd again, without any rhyme or reason, why he's an alien and not an alien. They never explained that. I was just blip of the camera, one take he's an alien, next take he's not. I'm convinced they just forgot to put him in makeup a few times and just sent him out. Oh shit, he doesn't have makeup on. All right, just go. Just film it. We don't have time.
So, I mean, first of all, your hypothesis is totally plausible and very, very likely, but they did try to justify it with the plot. So it depends on who's looking at it. Buckaroo Banzai, somebody zaps him and writes a formula on his hand, which lets him see the aliens, some equation. So when Buckaroo's looking at first, he can see them as aliens. Everybody else sees them as normal. That's when you're getting Buckaroo's perspective. Then the other inventor scientist gets it. He licks his hand and puts it on the guy's forehead, and then he can see it. And then they all get the goggles, and by the end, you can pretty much always see them as aliens.
The bubble wrap. It's literally just bubble wrap they put over their eyes.
Yeah, I mean,
now I can see them.
Even if they thought, I don't think they thought it was serious. This will look great, and this is an awesome effect. If they thought that, and then that's what they came up with, that's all even more funny to me.
That's what I think happened. I really think they thought it was.
I think
they're
like, this is well, maybe. I think it looks so stupid that it was entertaining to me. Just seeing the costumes made me laugh. He's talking about them jumping. It makes me laugh. Christopher Lloyd getting annoyed that they keep calling him Big Booty, and he's Big Booty. It's just classic. And then Christopher Lloyd and John Lithgow are arguing. He's like, "You're never gonna make it. I don't like your lack of courage."
No, he's in a big meatball when they're arguing. I don't understand what he was in.
It's supposed to be a harness.
He just turns around and shoots him.
Yep. See, as you describe this stuff, it's making me laugh. It is
only because it's so dumb.
Well, again, you think it's unintentionally dumb. I even if it is, I don't care because the dumbness is so entertaining and absurd that it resonated with me in chunks. The part where it's not being absurd and overtly dumb and it's just kind of bland and boring, those are the parts that don't work. But I just didn't know what kind of movie it was. I don't know, like Christopher Lloyd shows up and I don't know, it's like I don't know. It made me laugh, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh gosh, it's the War of the Worlds. The good guys are investigating. Oh, but what if War of the Worlds wasn't a hoax?"
Yeah, there's the whole Orson Welles bit in New Jersey.
But they're taking it serious. Like it needed to be crazier, and I don't know. It was just boring. And then when it goes for like drama, like it's supposed to be sad that Peter Weller. So Peter Weller has this backstory where he had a woman, a wife. She died. We don't know why. Turns out the wife had an identical twin who looked just like her. That's Penny Purdy. She dies at the end of the movie, but spoiler, he gives her a kiss and there's electricity flows off of her and she gets regenerated or whatever. And like,
the love story is like serious the whole time.
I know, and it's one of the worst parts of the movie. I'm like, oh, I don't care. I don't care at all. This is really bad. It's not interesting. I don't care about this guy's love interest. I don't feel his pain. Peter Weller is not selling me on it. He does a great job as RoboCop. As a person that actually experiences emotions, I'm not totally sold on what it is. Anyway, I don't know. That's to me the big difference is the nutty absurdity. I think it was intentional, but it also doesn't even matter because that's the parts I love the best when it just steered into the nonsense, the ludicrous design of the creatures or the aliens. There are just so many sequences which are clearly satirical to me. Like I can't take those two hunters shooting down a ship that's traveling through space with a gun and it crashes. It doesn't get like just a hole. Like they take it down. Can you imagine like we have tanks. You couldn't with a gun take down a tank. You think what if you shot a rocket, like an actual NASA rocket ship with like a rifle? Do you think it would do anything? Do you think it would impact?
I don't know.
I doubt it.
Never done it.
Well, I haven't either, but I suspect that.
I don't think you could take down Top Gun Maverick with a little rifle, but
right. I don't think the F-21s or whatever they are would go down with just one, like a hunter's rifle. But it just was like so absurd and ridiculous. I don't know.
Like like when the movie ends, the closing credits, they're just like marching through the sewer, like. It was just so
and
weird.
That's the trailer I saw too, where I was like, "What is this? What is this gonna be?" Because the trailer is you see Peter Weller walking, and then all those people
climbs down with a rope down into the like whatever storm drain or whatever it is. I don't even know what it is, aqueduct or something. And then they all meet up. They're like, "Hey, what's up, man?" One guy has his shirt open, and they're just the whole cast is just marching along with the music.
And those are the parts that are dull. I didn't want to be with the good guys. I wanted to see the insane aliens and the comic set pieces. You
liked it because it was so bad.
I disagree that it was unintentional. This is where you and I disagree. But okay. if you can't be shaken from your belief that
you won't
everything was
otherwise.
Meant to be serious, then according to your terms, yes, I like it because so bad. But I think some of the stuff is so clearly intentional. I mean, John Lithgow knows he's not being serious. John Lithgow isn't like, this is a fine dramatic performance I'm giving as some Italian-possessed
He's
alien.
done that before, though. He's just doing what the script requires. Like, you want me to go crazy? I'll go. You see me go crazy.
Right, but they're all looking at the same script, and he read it as comic. If people are just doing what they want, not everybody read it as comic.
Do you think he was trying to be funny?
I don't think he was being serious at all. If you think that's a serious... Read that Wikipedia page, which we'll talk more about Lithgow's performance. He's like, he knows it's over the top. He knows it's crazy. He knows it's insane, that it's scene-chewing nonsense. He is a more than competent actor. He's not like, I don't think that he's going for serious at all. He knew that it was crazy. I don't think...
Maybe. I'd love to ask him.
John, if you're listening to this podcast...
Explain this to me.
Please talk as much as you want about Buckaroo Banzai.
Walk me through it.
Did you think you were making a deeply serious movie? Do you think this was a nuanced portrayal of a serious alien-possessed Italian villain who really admired Mussolini, I guess? Let us know. I don't think so. because everybody's reading the script differently, and the good guys are just so boring. They were just so boring all the time. They were just talking. I was like, this isn't.
There's a movie, I think it's called Midnight Express, that came out, I don't know, 10 years ago now at this point. But it's like the same. It's a way better movie than this. But where like there's these like people that live in they live on Earth but in a different dimension, and the kid can like see between the dimensions. I don't know.
I haven't heard of it before. No, that's fine. Movie. That's fine.
I mean that's the idea with this, right? They don't go to outer space. Everything's on Earth. They're just in they're in the 8th dimension. And they have to,
sure, the aliens are in our dimension. We only see the 8th dimension like briefly at the beginning.
Right.
When,
well, that's because they know how to get to our dimension.
Well, now because of Buckaroo Banzai, he showed them he broke some aliens out. But okay, I've never seen the Carpenter. Was it Dark Star?
No, I've never seen it either. Yeah.
That's a science fiction satire, I think, overtly. I've never seen it. I probably should watch it. But I don't know. I feel like there's shades of that in this. And of course, John Carpenter's going to direct They Live, which I don't think it stole the glasses concept, but maybe. Because
that is 1,000 times better than this movie.
Of course, I'm not.
But it's also ridiculous. I mean, Roddy Piper is the star of that movie, and he says, "I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all a bubblegum." Like,
and we get like a 15-minute fight between him and what is it? I don't remember. Right. It's David Keith or Keith David. I get the names mixed up.
Right.
But
it's a ridiculous movie, but like so much better and much.
Yeah, if this were a real director, it would be a much better movie. If you
John Carpenter wouldn't have them sitting in these little chairs grabbing like, oh, this coffee cup is actually how I can listen to your alien species. Let me put it in my face. And oh, yep, now we can hear you. Now we can see the aliens. Like that's what happens in this movie. They just grab something. Yes, it would be a better movie if John Carpenter directed it. Who could refute that? John Carpenter is an excellent director. I mean, this guy's and I directed one other movie, and that was it. And this movie lost $6 million. It only cost $12 million to make, and it couldn't even make its budget back. So $12 million, I don't think is all that much in the mid '80s for a movie. Triple it, I suppose. For inflation.
I guess I don't know. I mean, it cost $12 million to make, and then $6 million comes back. It's half your budget. And it didn't have any like traditional marketing behind it either, because I don't think anybody believed in it. So I don't think they wanted to throw any marketing money at it.
Anybody saw this and be like, what the fuck did you make?
But apparently it was just, they tried to do word of mouth and talk about it at like nerd conventions and try to get people hyped for it. And it doesn't live up to the hype. I mean, that was one of the things. Like I was like, sometimes it was like looking at a firecracker waiting for it to explode, and then it doesn't. It just sits there. You're like, oh, I was waiting for the explosion of craziness and fun, and oh no, it's just Peter Weller just going in a circle on a stupid bike doing nothing cool. I mean, what's the coolest thing that Peter Weller does in this movie as Buckaroo Banzai? This super genius guy that the president loves.
Goes through the mountain. I guess he pushes his technology far. He does something no one's ever done before.
The thing he does to set up the plot is the cool thing, his invention. But after that, it's
kind of the start of Top Gun Maverick, where he's going Mach 10 or whatever. Like,
sure, he's like 100 miles. Sure, that's fine. He has an invention. He figures out how to travel to another dimension. Cool, and then that's it. And then they run around shooting aliens awkwardly and incomprehensibly. And
so your biggest problem was Buckaroo Banzai.
Oh, all the good guys, really. I mean, everybody. I was disappointed pretty much every single one.
Clancy Brown, the Highlander guy, was kind of cool.
He's okay.
So he gets the like spider on his butt, and then does he die?
Yeah, I think so. That was unclear, but I think so.
In the end, he's walking through the aqueduct at the end.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he gets revived. We don't know. I assumed he died.
There was no cure, they said, for it.
His death is His death is really. It's not all that exciting. You think you'd make it more dramatic if you wanted to be serious. They kill. It's one of those things like, I don't care about that character at all. I don't care that he died. Like, I felt nothing.
I don't even know who he was. Was he was in the band, right?
Yeah, he's in the inner circle.
Yeah.
But it was like I was just really bored with all the main characters, and the action is just it's really so frustrating.
It's a terrible movie, Ben. Ben, it is literally one of the worst movies ever made, if you ask me.
And that's fine. I'm going to ask you in just a minute. But here's the question: Is this below Cabaret?
Yes. This is the worst movie we've done.
This is worse than Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
Yeah. Yes, it's worse, but yes. Say it's close. But this, Ben, I cannot think of a worse movie that, like, serious people sat down with a serious, like, MGM Studios, Fox, 20th Century Fox, like, serious producers, major studio, major money, big time cast, put together like absolute dog shit, and sold it to us as like it's a parody. Oh yeah, no, I'm just parodying it all. It's a parody of sci-fi.
I don't know that they're selling it. That's what I see.
You made a shit ass terrible movie, and it's really bad, and your special effects are terrible. The acting's terrible. The story makes no sense. It's garbage. This is a garbage movie.
Wow. See,
Trash.
As you describe it, you make it sound almost fun to watch. The reaction you have doesn't make it sound like it's an awful movie to watch, because I don't think it is. I don't know. I don't know who's selling it as set. I read it as set. It's what it looks to me. I mean, there's no way to take that scene where he's describing the plot to the president seriously. There's just no way to look at that and think, oh, this movie is trying to be serious right now. I don't know how you can see that scene and think, oh man, this is supposed to be a dramatic president deciding whether to bomb the Russians.
How could you? Well, all of a sudden they're doing neurosurgery, and now he's playing at a rock show, and he's apparently some big time rock star. Like, how could you take that serious? How could you take none of it?
I don't take it seriously.
No,
you're right.
Well, in that, like, they actually made a serious movie. Like, I don't mean serious like it's supposed to be dramatic. I mean, like, these people actually tried. Like, I don't think you could say they're trying to make a movie. Like, they put any effort into it whatsoever.
Oh, you don't think they tried? Oh, I think they tried.
This is like a tax Ponzi scheme or something. This is not an actual motion picture.
Oh, that's fascinating. Okay. That is so fascinating to me.
This guy was like, $12 million? Okay, I'll use 6 to make a shit movie, and I'll take the rest and go to Mexico or something. Like,
well, he did. He came back and worked on Big Trouble in Little China. Worked on that script. He's got friends in Hollywood. His writing credits aren't bad. You're not like, man, these are just shit movies that he's writing for. I don't know. I whether it's unintentional or intentional is irrelevant. I mean, there's just absolute absurd nonsense in this movie that is unlike almost anything I've seen before, because it's so singular. There aren't many. What movie is like this that you've ever seen in your life?
I've never seen a movie like this.
And that doesn't make it even slightly compelling to you that you've never seen. No. You're not like, I've never seen a movie before like this.
When I've seen a movie like this, when I was 12, and we would have a camcorder, and we would make like it was like, hey, let's do a sci-fi movie, and we're like, yeah, okay, all right, so you stand up there, and yeah, you're like a surgeon, yep, so you're doing surgery, and then the aliens come down, no, you're not a rock man, and then now you're gonna have a gunfight, like those were literally the movies we made when we were 12 years old. It was like this kind of shit.
Did you get John Lithgow to read your crazy words?
That's what I'm saying. That's the crazy thing, is these are adults, and they had actual money and serious actors to do it. What makes no sense to me. That sounds so appealing
to me. Like something with a 12-year-old sensibility, which is crazy and nonsensical, with actual like top-rate actors. That doesn't sound to me like a boring movie that I would hate.
That's what this is. No, that is bad. That's just bad.
Bad or not, it's entertaining. Like, that sounds like a movie I'd want to see. Like, oh, okay, we're gonna get.
I think that's what Star Wars was. It was George Lucas. Like, this is what I wanted to see when I was 12 years old, and like, but there's some skill and care to it, whereas this movie had none of those things. It had no skill and no care. Well, it was just.
I agree they didn't have the skill. I think they cared. I don't know. It's like there's just too many scenes in this where they can't possibly have been serious. We're like, oh, we created a fake order of war form. Oh, because we're being very serious. And the president looks at it and he looks confused.
I read it as like, this is the guy that wrote this movie, or director, thinks like that's how war is declared.
Oh, that I can't relate to that. There's just no way that they think that's how. I don't think there's just too many scenes.
That's how stupid the people made this movie is. They think that that's how war is declared.
Wow, that is a really unfair and ungenerous reading of, I think, a section of the movie that is clearly comedic on its face. I don't see how you'd write a character named Big Booty and think that's serious. We're being serious right now. This is our serious.
Because you do it in a movie called Buckaroo Banzai.
The whole name is a joke to me. I mean, let's make it absurd. It's just an awful name for a movie. It's so verbose and wonky, and I guess he's Buckaroo Banzai because he's half American, half Japanese. It doesn't play into the plot really at all. He's not like being overtly. I mean, he seems like an American guy. It's not like he embraces his Japanese heritage that I could see. I'm more willing to give it credit for having steered into satire zones, especially given that this guy worked on Big Trouble in Little China, a much better kind of movie that toes the line and also has a way better director. That I think the sensibilities aren't serious for big sections of the movie, and those are the ones I like best. I mean, I laughed a lot at sections of this movie, and even you describing some of the scenes, which I guess I'm supposed to be mad that it's bad. It sounds funny to me. And now I'm going to be able to think of Christopher Lloyd jumping and you going, "Wah!" Sounds funny to me. Sounds fucking funny. A guy named Smallberries. Okay, that's such a stupid name that it makes me laugh. It's so dumb. But anyway, I guess 0 stars for you.
Half star because of the guitar shredding.
Okay. Wow. So you got like 10 seconds. I mean, this is where like the movie just needed to be a rock and roll scene. Like but it stops in the middle because Penny Purdy's crying, and we have to have the Penny Purdy thing happen. Like, I just want to see them having a good time. Let's hear the song. Let's hear the whole song. Don't stop it because she's crying. I don't care about this Penny character. Ignore Penny.
We did Toxic Avenger, right? Like, that movie is crazy from start to finish. I got what he was trying to do. It made perfect sense to me. It's low budget. Like, he doesn't have the money to make a expensive sci-fi super movie, but he's not trying to. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's funny. Like, that made perfect sense to me. This was not Toxic Avenger. This was.
Well, it's not.
I'm trying to make a serious sci-fi movie. I don't have a lot of money, but I got this cool cast, and I have these crazy, crazy ideas. Let's just throw it all against the wall, and let's just do it. Let's just fucking do it. I don't care if it doesn't make sense. I don't care if it's not funny or if it's not serious or whatever. Let's just do it. Just like make it. Like, let's make it. I don't care. And
that may be.
It's just a disaster. It's an abject disaster.
Oh, see, it's an entertaining disaster to me. I mean, I give it 3 stars because it is very singular, which in and of itself makes a movie. I'm glad it exists. Like, I'm happy this movie exists in reality. And there's times that it was genuinely entertaining, even if it's because they tried to make a serious movie and this was their best effort, and they didn't want a single beat to be comedic or satirical. They're just like, we're going to do this seriously. People are going to take the scene where John Lithgow is giving a crazy Hitler speech seriously, and they're going to be like, oh, scared. They're going to be so scared of these aliens and what they might do. Even if that was their views, this is going to be serious. It's not. They're in this shitty warehouse. These aliens look like they're just hanging around playing cards, and they just look like random just schmoes. They're completely like unimposing, and they apparently want to go off to some planet and fight somebody else because this guy was like Hitler. Gives this crazy speech, which is just it falls flat, and everybody's not sure where to cheer. And there's nothing like this movie that I've seen in my life. There are sections that are, I think, clearly satirical and funny, or just so unintentionally funny because it's so inept. If you take the Eric Lane camp on some of these movies. The set design is so silly and goofy that I can't take this movie seriously, but it entertained me. The good guys are boring. The action's so bad. It's just the action is just indefensibly bad. They just didn't know what they were doing for some of these sections of the movie. And the pacing is kind of off, and the timing, and sometimes they just don't quite set things up well. Like Penny Purdy, she's got this creature's coming up to kill her, presumably. She's laying here, and they put like honey on her arm.
Oh, the honey thing, yeah.
And have like insects mess with her. We don't see it though, and that's supposed to be like scary and awful, I guess. But we don't get scenes to show it scary, awful. Then they put some weird slug that's going to kill her. But instead of building the tension, right, in a normal movie you'd expect to see it getting closer and closer, and it's going to like eat her face or whatever it's going to do. Instead, it just sits there, and the next thing we see is like Buckaroo swatting it away, and he swats it on the wall, and he's like, ignore that, and then let's focus on this other stuff. It's so bizarre. It makes weird choices, either because it's stupid or because they wanted to make silly choices. 3 out of 5, very much worth watching, I think. But yeah, don't go in expecting Star Wars. It's not Star Wars. Either it's trying to be and failing, or it's not trying to be, but it's not Star Wars. It's not serious. It's not a classic sci-fi entertaining story. All right, Eric, you had a lot of options for getting to Field of Dreams. What route did you take?
The cast of this movie, I know I've mentioned it before, but like, absolutely, that Mike Ehrmantraut, the guy from Better Call Saul, was in it for a minute too. Like, he was like one of the orderlies at the mental hospital. Just insane cast. But I went with Ellen Barkin, so she plays Penny, as you mentioned. The whole time I'm watching the movie, I was like, man, that lady looks familiar. Like, how do I know her? She's in Ocean's 13. The third Ocean's movie. She's Al Pacino's like personal assistant or main assistant lady.
Oh, the one that Matt Damon seduces with the nose.
He seduces with the nose. Yeah, she's also in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. She's the waitress that Benicio threatens to stab.
The buzzkill scene, the scene that ended that harshed your mellow. Yeah.
But I picked the Ocean's 13 route. Don Cheadle is in Ocean's 13. He's also in Out of Sight, which is maybe my favorite Soderbergh movie. I love that movie. Ving Rhames is in Out of Sight. He's in Pulp Fiction with Frank Whaley, who's in Field of Dreams.
Okay. Yeah, there was. I mean, aside from the main cast, there was also a lot of like side characters. Like, oh yeah, there's that person. I've seen that person in a bunch of movies.
Well, the guy that was putting the honey, that dude's been in a million movies.
Both the cronies, both of like Christopher Lloyd's cronies, are guys that have just fit as side characters in a bunch of movies. One of them is the guy that's in Ghost. He teaches Patrick Swayze how to move objects at like the subway station. But I went with Jonathan Banks, Michael Ehrmantraut in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Okay. Yeah.
I wanted to go his route. He's apparently in Beverly Hills Cop. I've not seen that recently, so I don't know. He plays a character called Zach in Beverly Hills Cop. We've got Judge Reinhold is in that movie, and he's also in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. A very insane, early 80s, a boner comedy, if you will, Eric, back when those movies were still, thriving. And then Forrest Whitaker's in that movie. And by the way, that's another movie with kind of an insane cast. Forrest Whitaker's in that movie, and Forrest Whitaker's in a movie called Pawn, a 2013 movie with Ray Liotta. It's just it looks like one of those red box movies, basically. Just all black and crime, and I don't know. Forrest Whitaker's the lead, and then of course Ray Liotta's at Field of Dreams. So,
okay. Well, anything else you want to say about Buckaroo Banzai?
No, I disagree. You just assume every choice was made by the dumbest humans on the planet. I think they were bad at making movies, but they had some funny, zany ideas, or at least things that worked. That's it. We're good. Where are we going next week? What's our next movie?
All right. Okay, so give you a few clues, see if you'll get it, and watch along. First clue, this is a 2023 film. It was released this year.
Okay.
So it's a new movie.
Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick was not released in 2023.
Oh, see? Okay.
This movie, one of the stars of the movie is an actor by the name of Marlon Wayans.
Okay.
One of the Wayans brothers.
Sure. Losing hope.
One of the main characters in the movie is a real person named Sonny Vaccaro.
Okay.
I mean, it's played by an actor, but it's based off of a real person named Sonny Vaccaro.
Doesn't help me.
All right. Let's see here. The movie includes a reuniting of two famous people that have worked together before.
Nope. Unhelpful.
They have a famous partnership previously.
A famous partnership previously. I don't know.
This movie's about shoes.
It's shoes? The movie Shoes?
It's about shoes.
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what this is.
The movie's called Air.
Oh, okay. This is Ben Affleck?
Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Have you seen this movie yet?
No, not at all.
Okay. It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
It's free to watch. It's a sports movie about the guys that started Air Jordan.
Okay. All right.
It's no Buckaroo Banzai, but
sounds like riveting. I've always wondered how Air Jordan started. I was like, man, I want to know what was the process to get these made and get the licensing rights and get the material, like where they get the rubber, how they decide on
it's a lot of rubber.
Print.
Definitely about rubber.
Like, they have to like workshop ideas and figure out support. And
so you're not very excited to watch this, huh?
I had no idea it was about the making of shoes. It's one of like a couple of times it popped up, like I think Brian Eggert mentioned something once on Twitter, and occasionally like, popped up, but I didn't know anything about it. I had no idea. I knew it was called Air. I didn't realize it was Air Jordans. It's probably going to be just fine. It's on its surface, you telling me that it's about shoes doesn't make me more excited for the movie, I have to say.
Okay. All right. Well, I haven't seen it yet, so I'm excited to watch it. Check it out. Air, Amazon Prime.
Sounds good. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Good goûter.